everybody, so it's a lovely evening and I have a bike which I think some of you might be quite interested in. It is indeed the Lexmoto Vendetta 250. If you're new to my channel, subscribe. I'm on my way to 100k. Just to explain what happens here, Lexmoto lend me bikes. I'm not paid anything or anything like that, they just lend me the bike, and then I normally make a first ride style video, which is what this one's going to be, where I just jump on the bike as soon as I get it and just see how I find it. It's not a review by any means, and I don't say too much about too much. I then do a top speed run in a few days, a week or so. That might be a bit more difficult on the 250 because I think I will be breaking the speed limits. And then in a few weeks, once I've used it as my daily runner, that's when I give you a review and let you know what I really think of it. And I'm completely honest, and this is one of the good things to say about Lexmoto. I've been harsh, well not harsh, fair, but critical of bikes in the past, and they keep sending them to me. They accept my opinion on these things, and I've been riding Chinese bikes. I had two over the course of 7 years, until a few years ago when I went up to bigger bikes myself, but I've been riding them and testing them ever since. This thing, which is obviously a calf racer style, is 2.5 grand. That's not a lot of money. It is quite small, but then these sorts of bikes tend to be. I mean, it's like calf racery scrambler, something like that. You know, you've got your intermediate off-road tyres. It's got independent ABS on the brakes, opposed to link brakes that you get with 125s. Stainless steel exhaust, very classic looks, and I say a V-twin 250 engine. There is an elephant in the room, and I'm going to address it in this video and just get it done with, because I know it's going to be the one thing that everyone sort of fusses over, the one fact, as if it's the be-all and end-all of this bike. By the way, listen to it. I wonder what the limiter sounds like. So yes, the elephant in the room with this bike is the fact that it only has about 16 brake horsepower, and for a 250, that isn't a lot. It has got 17 Newton meters of torque, and it feels, in the first few miles that I've ridden it, pretty damn peppy. Now I'll get more camera angles and stuff like that in the future in the review. I'll have lots more footage of it and stuff like that, so subscribe if you want to see more. But for now, as I say, this is just sort of my first ride video where I just take it out and see what it's like, so you can see and I can see, because that's the main thing people just want to see, is the bike running, what it sounds like, how it seems to perform. The engine running wise is pretty smooth, you don't get too many vibrations. It feels okay. When it very first arrived, the throttle was terribly adjusted, so there was a massive amount of slack, which meant that when you got on the throttle it was a bit jerky, and I thought that didn't seem right, so I adjusted it, so I've got rid of that slack, and now it feels nice. It does about 88 miles to the gallon. It is A2 compliant, but you couldn't do your A2 test on it. It's not powerful enough to do your A2 actual test on, but you don't normally do that anyway. I'm not fully convinced this bike is actually sort of aimed for the A2 market, although it does fall within the allowances for the A2 and would be perfectly usable, I'm sure. Some people who have been on a 125 a long time might want more power, and there'll be a lot of the people that are saying, you know, 16.5 brake horsepower is nothing. But that's the thing, I'm not entirely sure that's the way it's been aimed. There is a lot of people these days who have bigger bikes, larger cc bikes, or had them in the past, and don't need something quite so powerful, quite so leery. They just want a small, you know, bike to get them around town, and they don't want a 125. This is a very good option, like something like this in the 250 range. You know, you've got the Suzuki 250, admittedly that has 24 brake horsepower because it uses the older Zoomer engine, but from my memory, I have done a review on it, I can't say that that bike felt like much more torquey than this. This actually feels pretty good. I mean, that's going to be changed with the gearing, obviously. I am getting used to these tyres, and the front tyre might be a little bit underinflated. I'm going to have to check that. It's also very cold right now. It's about 0. Now, I'm not getting into the Chinese bike debate. I have spent years discussing it. I have made videos on it where I've basically had my final word and say on it. You can say whatever you like, but those videos still stand. Not that of course that matters, because people don't particularly care to check facts or ask people to experience before parroting information that they've been spouted at them by people who haven't known anything about the bikes for 30 years. So it's always a big issue when you mention Chinese bikes. By the way, if you want to find out where your bike was built, and if you own a 125, it probably wasn't built in Japan, go to whomademybike.com, put in your frame number, and it will tell you where it was made. You might be surprised. Anyway, I'm not here to discuss that, it's just something I have to address because, as I say, this is a 250 Chinese bike. We haven't seen many larger than 125cc Chinese bikes in this country. There have been some back in about 2014, around that time, and they ultimately weren't very successful. People didn't pick them up. But of course, between the time that I had my first Chinese bike over 10 years ago to what we have now, they have proven themselves to be very good for the money. You have to remember that they cost half the price of other equivalents. So we have seen they're very good, and now they're moving into larger CCs. So it's kind of inevitable we're going to see some larger CC Chinese bikes. I've been waiting for it to happen, and yeah, okay, we're not up to like 600s or anything like that yet, but what we are in still is the smaller CC engines, lower power, but made to last, because that's how engines in the Asian sort of countries are made. They're not interested in maximum performance, they're not interested in maximum anything other than longevity. They want the thing to be reliable, which ironically is the thing that people try and criticise Chinese bikes for the most. But the engines are literally designed to last a long time. They're not designed to have lots and lots of care lavished on them. And that could be part of the reason why this engine, with only having 16 brake horsepower, is a good thing. It's underpowered for what it could be, which gives it a lot of strength and hopefully added reliability. You know, that's kind of one of the reasons why the old RS 125s and stuff like that, yeah, sure, they were fast as hell, but they blew up a lot because they were highly strung. If you get absolutely everything out of something, there isn't much left, and then, you know, things start popping. By the way, I'm 6'4". I am no small guy, and I also weigh about 15.5, 16 stone. And for getting around town, this thing's awesome. I'm really enjoying this because it's got the sort of lightness, although it isn't completely as light as a 125. It's not 125. It's about 150 kilos. But where it's got this little extra pep in it, it's nice. I'm enjoying it. Getting more used to these tyres and the geometry as well. It's got 5 gears, so it's going to be interesting when I do the sort of top speed run, see where it sort of sits rev-wise on the motorway doing 70, and how it's going to be for that. That's going to be an interesting thing to see. I'm quite intrigued, because it could have really high RPMs for that, because, as you can note, it's torquey. Low down, it's got torque. Anyway, I'm going to end this one here because I'm just going around in circles and it's getting freezing cold. But I think that's enough for you to sort of see what it sounds like, see what it looks like, see how it kind of performs around town. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, please. And if you really want to support this channel, then maybe consider joining my Patreon, like one of the lovely people that went up your screen earlier. It is only $1 a month. You get videos 3 days early, and it really helps me to continue making these videos. I'm not paid anything by these companies to review these bikes. It's all my own time and money that goes into it. So the support of you guys is very much appreciated. I'll catch you next time. If you enjoyed this video and the other content on the channel, please consider following the links in the description to show your support.